about it and like how deep and profound like it truly is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All we are is just dust in the wind. You know who takes that to a whole new level?
My
Dead
ex-boyfriend.
people.
Oh!
No,
Two good answers.
all of those.
Both good.
I was thinking of Philip Pullman, who is our subject matter today.
Oh, shit. I didn't know. I prepared a podcast about Carrie.
On Bill Pullman, is that who you
Yeah.
prepared for? But you're actually confusing
Who
with
is that?
Bill
Which? Okay, so I enjoy all the wordplay, but one, I don't remember who Bill Pullman is, and two, I don't remember who Bill Paxton is.
Okay, first of all, the Bills. Second of all, I'm Morgan.
Oh, and I'm Mick.
And this is another confusing episode of Beauty and the Beast. Okay, so Bill, one of these, I can tell you for certainty, one of these Bills is the dad from Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Oh, shit, that's Bill No.
I think it is Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman.
Bill Paxton, I believe, is the one who just died. May he rest in peace.
Okay, what'd he do?
He was in Twister.
I remember that movie. I remember
him. He was in Titanic.
I was in Titanic. I watched that movie back in the day.
Yes, peasant.
Who is he in Titanic?
He was like the director dude who he wasn't on the Titanic. He found the Titanic, right? He was like, oh, we're going down. We got the super cool cameras underwater doing submarines. And he's like, there it is, the Titanic.
Oh, and he helps to find the Jewel of the Sea or whatever the shit that
And then he fucks
is.
the old lady's granddaughter. It's all off camera, but it happens.
It happens. He fucks the old lady, too.
What?
What?
For a second, I had to think about that, and I was like, did he?
That's real life, girl. Her boobies were going ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum.
Oh, that's gravity. And there's really no reason to bring up the metamorphosis of life and women's bodies.
Girl, my nuts are gonna sag just as much as your tits, so don't you worry about it. It's nothing. It's not sexist.
Okay, I won't. Anyway.
Could we measure when we're 80 and see who sagged the most?
Boobs or balls?
But yeah, we'll have to see. But we'll have to measure today.
Tits or testes, boobs or balls?
Yes!
Oh my god, alliteration.
See? Okay, when we're 80 years old, we'll have a podcast that's just about sagging body parts.
Yeah, it's gonna be called Boobs or Balls, Tits or Testes.
Yes! And they'll say, oh, I know those fuckholes from Beauty and the Bitch.
Those fugly sluts.
Those fugly sluts.
Yeah, speaking of fugly sluts, we're here to talk about Philip Pullman today, who's not Bill Paxton or Bill Pullman. He's like
who I still don't really know who those people are. I forgot already.
And I'm pretty sure that Philip Pullman is British. What's your take on his nationality?
You know, I just watched an interview with him right before you came over, and I have no... Here's my thing. Maybe I'm a weirdo this way.
Your attention to detail is mesmerizing.
No, well, look, I'm an idea person. I think in big, abstract
And
things.
I'm just the talent.
Okay. You are. You're the talented bitch on the team. No, but what I was going to say was, I never notice when someone's talking in English accent. I know that sounds stupid, but like You're
just like above it all.
I kind of am. I'm kind of like the ascended master, essentially.
You guys, I will say this thing about Mick. He straight up drinks his coffee on top of a saucer.
Oh, yeah!
He's a cup and saucer dude, 100%.
Oh, shit! They didn't know I was a fancy lady, did they?
Well, now they do.
And now they do.
And he also wears a string of pearls and nothing else.
Mm-hmm. It's my pearl necklace, and I get it rejuvenated twice a week.
You would.
I'm
not sure that would actually be helpful for, like, real pearls to just, like, soak them in jizz. I don't think, like, if you're actually doing that, like, don't.
What are you talking about?
Oh, we're talking about different pearl necklaces?
You're disgusting! My grandmother gave me these pearls.
Which ones?
Good point. Touche. No, but okay, but I'm gonna come clean right now at the beginning because I don't want there to be any like misconceptions. I know everyone's used to me being the beautiful, smart one, but I am an oxymoron. I'm a walking oxymoron. More beautiful. Am I the ox or the moron?
Who knows?
But I actually did not read his Dark Materials to prepare for this. No, I didn't read even one of the books.
It's just so interesting because it's the kind of thing that you would have been obsessed with. And, like, it's one of those weird phenomenons that I would like to address a little bit later. Like, why do people not obsess over his Dark Materials because it is this incredible piece of literature. And I do find it so interesting that it's not one of the most popular series out there, you know? I didn't read it till I was in college, which is crazy.
I've heard it's really popular in Europe. Like, it's more popular in Europe than it is in the US. Did you know about that?
That's so fetch.
Oh. Stop trying to make fetch happen.
It's like British slang or something.
Okay.
Well, just in case any of you BBs out there have also not read his Dark Materials, that does not mean that you are excluded from this podcast.
No!
And we would like to do a quick 60-second recap of the trilogy, which I'm going to attempt for you, having not read this book series in quite some time.
Okay, so do you have... Okay, Morgan's got her thing out. You've got 1 minute on the clock, Morgan. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to collect every important character, explain every important race, talk about the Dark Materials, explain Dust in its entirety.
All right.
And then I want you to talk about 5 to 6 beautiful moments in the books that you enjoyed. Are you ready? You're going to achieve all of this. 1 minute. Go.
Okay, the Golden Compass / the Northern Lights. Lyra lives in Oxford. She grew up with all these random people. She doesn't know who her parents are. She has this uncle, Lord Asriel. He comes sometimes. He's kind of her benefactor. Oh, who's this weird lady, Miss Coulter? Anyway, there's this magistrate. Oh, he likes you, and you have to go away with Miss Coulter. But why? He gives you this thing called the alethiometer, which is the Golden Compass. It's magical. It's a truth teller. Okay, so you go away. You want to travel. You want to take your friend with you. Your friend gets kidnapped. What? There are these people. They kidnap stuff. Travel adventure. You meet lots of people.
30 seconds.
You find out Lord Asriel's your dad, and then he kills your best friend, and then you meet a new boy in the next book, Will. He has a subtle knife. It's magical. It cuts through worlds, and then some shit happens, and then you guys go, and then you want to kill the god, but you don't really want to, but Lord Asriel wants to, and then you do, and then you have to rebuild the heaven, which is a republic, and Mrs. Coulter's a cunt, and also you have
10
a daemon,
seconds.
And your daemon is your soul, and then at the end, Will and Lyra have to get separated because you have to close all the anomalies, and then forever they meet up in Oxford, but 2 different Oxfords because of the multiverse!
Good job, Morgie. That was pretty impressive. Oh, wait. How do I stop this? Pause it. Stop it.
You can't stop it.
I can't stop it. It's screaming at me.
You can't stop.
Pause.
And
okay.
you won't stop.
Morgie, that was probably the most impressive thing you've ever done. Aside from fitting that whole bowling pin up your vag.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, babies. We'll see you next week. I kid.
Okay. So Morgie, I feel like as a novice to this universe, you've given me kind of a good background, a good beginning to understand. What would you say are some of the main things that you love about this series? Briefly, because we're going to get into the depths.
Well, I love that Lyra is a quasi-orphan and that she has a really fucked up family, and you spend so much of the time of the story discovering basically her heritage and where she came from. And then I really like the idea of daemons, or demons, I say daemons. It's like an A and an E attached together. They are like a physical embodiment of your soul. And what's so great about it is when you cross through, there's this multiverse where you can be in 2 different versions of Oxford, which is where Lyra's from, and they're almost exactly the same, but just a couple things are different. And in Lyra's Oxford, your daemons are external, right? So she has this little animal that follows her around, and it's her familiar, her companion. It's literally her soul, and without it, she is lost and dead and hollow. And then...
Much like me on a Friday night.
Aww, all of those things do describe you. And then in Will's Oxford, Will doesn't have a daemon, and he finds it really curious. And then later, when they go somewhere their daemons can't go, they go to the underworld. He discovers he has to leave his daemon behind, and he's like, oh, I don't have one. And they're like, oh, you do. It's been inside of you all along. Which I think is beautiful and poetic, because part of Lyra's horror is that she discovers...
Her what? Her horror?
Her horror! She discovers that there's this, group of terrible people that are performing incisions, which is where they separate children from their daemons because they think it'll make them more pure as they grow up, right? Because the church is a horrible place in this book, which more on that later. But she discovers that this is a thing. And then when you realize Will also has a daemon, the magnitude of what that means, it's literally a person ripping your soul out of your body. And they're doing this in Lyra's world.
So does it, when she goes and she learns this information,
Does she burn the place down?
My question is, which of the Republican National Conventions is it that she attends?
Steve Bannon is actually heading up of the
Lord God, ban him!
Ban him?
Oh, that's beautiful. So we would both, if we were living in this fictional universe, we would be in the guy's universe, right? Because that's quote unquote our world.
We would live in Will's world. Yeah, Will is our people.
So we have, if we're living in this universe, we have daemons too, but they're just inside of us.
Yes. Okay. And even when he travels to other worlds, it's interesting because his daemon stays inside of him. And so at some point he has to like pretend like something's his daemon so that he fits in. Because if you don't have one, it's like, well, where's your fucking daemon?
Well, you just grab like a squirrel or something and say, this is my daemon!
Yeah.
It's mad at me!
Pretty much. He just picks up some roadkill.
Oh, okay.
Hard life. Makes me think too because they're always like different animals and it's kind of reminiscent of what's that spell in Harry Potter where it's an animal?
Expecto Patronum.
That one. Yeah. So it's kind of like a similar thing. Like, what would your animal be? Mm-hmm. Would it be like a horrifying monkey, or is it like a beautiful bird?
Oh, I love that golden monkey. That's Miss Coulter's. I mean, it's evil, but it's such a beautiful beast.
So creepy.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because it's a different question, really, than the Patronus.
Yes, because it's literally your soul.
Would you think that this is similar to, like, the spirit animal question? Like,
maybe.
Even that seems slightly different to me, because a spirit animal is your guide, right?
Yeah.
But
and this is like your buddy.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's like the embodiment of your soul, and it's your little buddy.
Can your daemon...
Mine's a sloth.
Oh, dude, you're going to go with sloth across the board. You got a sloth? Because I remember you said your Patronus
But I
is
have
a sloth
to carry him everywhere because he's so slow, and that's, like, so useless.
Well, that's interesting, too, right? Because when I was doing the research, it said the daemon is almost always the opposite sex of you.
Yeah.
And which is an interesting idea of, like, is biological sex that important? Why does Pullman think it has to be the opposite? But whatever. Uh-huh. It's supposed to be your negative, right? It's not supposed to be exactly like you. It's supposed to be kind of like the opposite of you, so that together you make a full thing.
Sloth.
Yeah, well, it could be though, because you're not slothful. You know, it could also, your daemon could be something beautiful since you're so hideous.
Oh my god!
Oh, you didn't see it coming because you were thinking.
I was. Yeah. I am trying to think though, like, because I'm so high-strung about like some things and meticulous, and like I know these things about me. I know they're like the least attractive parts of my personality, and my face is the most attractive.
Oh, so many things were said that were wrong. I don't even know where to start.
But it just makes me think, if I am so high-strung and like, I don't know, like, I don't really know what the best word for like the bad parts, you know what I mean though. So like, what's the opposite of that?
Completely seriously, this is a funny
really
word.
Is it Snorlax? Snorlax.
You could be something. I'm still saying a sloth is a possibility.
Okay.
I would call it. I think we're both anal in a similar.
Oh
way.
yeah.
That's the word I like to use. I mean, I know it's kind of a funny word, but it has the negative qualities, but it also has, to my mind at least, caught up in it the positive qualities.
Right, because we're also very organized.
Yes,
which is cool.
Detail-oriented in different ways. Like, you care about things that don't matter, and I care about things that do.
Yeah, like I care about you.
Oh, I love you too. Get out of here! Get out of here!
It all turns back on me. So anyways, the daemons are really fascinating. You know what else is really fascinating?
Who?
No, not who. I said what. It's like you don't even fucking listen. Jesus, talking to a brick wall.
Oh, so I'm fat now.
Oh my god, you're so skinny.
Thank you so much.
To backtrack one step, I will say I think the relationship with the church, the version of the church that lives in this book, is number one, the reason why more people don't read it, and number two, one of the most fascinating elements of the series.
I agree with that. I want to dive deep into that. Can I tell you, the reason that the initial reason I never read the Dark Materials trilogy, his Dark Materials, is because, and this person will go unnamed, there was a person we went to high school with.
Your mom.
Did Fran go to school with us, Morgan?
Maybe.
I'm going to tell Fran.
I wasn't in
I'm going to tell
class.
Fran that you are obsessed with her.
You're always...
And that you want to have sexual relations with her.
If you had just stopped at like one beat.
No, and she's going to rip you up. If you know what I mean. Fran don't play.
She's going to be like, what was that now, honey? And then I'm going to just change the subject.
Does your dad listen to this podcast?
I seriously doubt it.
I haven't told my mom. Like, I told her it exists, but I did not tell her how to find it because I don't want her to listen, Anyway, that's not the point.
Same.
That's not the point. What was my fucking point? Oh, I remember. The reason I never read it, there was this girl we went to high school with. She was very religious. So I really don't want to know who she is because it's very hurtful and we were very cruel behind her back.
Yeah, we were.
We were cruel. Today we're sweet angels. But she never knew. But anyway, the point is she read it. And honestly, I thought so little of her that when I would see her reading it, she's also very religious though, so I'm not really certain how those things play together. But
that is interesting.
Literally in my mind since then, it's been, I see that series, I'm like, oh, blankety blank read that? No, thank you, Queen. Which is not a good reason not to read something, but it's so me. It's so me.
Yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, and now I find that you've read it too. Kiss of death.
I find that to be incredibly insulting, and Mr. Pullman would not be happy.
He's not happy anyway. You can tell.
Because he's British?
Because he's an atheist. An atheist can't be happy.
Why?
There's nothing to look forward to. Yeah.
That's so sad.
I know. Give me some really, like, concrete things to bring me back to, like, the atheist world that we know. What do you know about? Can you give us facts and figures?
Yes. Oh, my God. I have so many facts and figures.
I thought I set that up so well for you, and you gave me the blankest look.
That's just how I look.
No. No shade.
Anywho. All right, facts and figures. So, the very first book was released in 1995 in the UK, and it was called The Northern Lights. And then the very next year it came to the US, 1996, and we retitled it like we do for no apparent reason.
Why?
I don't know. We were like, what's the Northern Lights? Anyway, we call it the Golden Compass because the word alethiometer is very confusing for us. Very confusing.
But really, shouldn't it have been called the alethiometer in Europe at least? Because all the other books are named after...
You would think.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, because there are 3 dark materials. But, you're right. But why did we name it the Golden Compass? Because they say that word like one time. Like, Lyra's like, what's that Golden Compass? And he's like, silly girl, it's an alethiometer.
Well, I prefer the term Northern Lights much more, or the title Northern Lights, but I will say at least the Golden Compass is the alethiometer, right? Whereas the Northern Lights are not the alethiometer. No, anyway, I'm just saying not. England sucks, America rules, America first, I suck Donald Trump's asshole, welcome to my life.
Like, loaded words in this sentence.
I lost my fucking mind!
But yeah, America, the home of the brave.
I think
Is that what they say?
You meant to say, America!
Fuck yeah!
I'm sorry I interrupted. I'm so sorry.
The Subtle Knife came in 1997, 2 years after the original publication, and then follow up with the Amber Spyglass in the year 2000. A perfectly respectable amount of time to release 3 books. You know, not leaving too much to be desired. None of this George R.R. Martin bullshit.
Girl, I saw that video you put up on YouTube earlier this week. That man ruined your life.
He, like, legit did, because the last book came out in 2011. And Mickey, what year is it?
Right now it is 2018, but you think it's 2017. And I don't want to destroy that.
The world is a construct.
It's all in your imagination.
So it's time.
I'm wiggling my arms like a dream.
Gender. State of Texas, are you listening? Gender is a construct.
That's facts.
Okay. All right. So how well do you think those books were received? Pretty good?
I would imagine that it got more and more popular as it went along.
Mostly true. Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Okay.
So book number 1 got a 3.94 out of 5 on Goodreads. Okay. It got a book number 2 got a 4.1 out of 5, and book number 3 got a 4.06 out of 5.
Oh, so it did go back down, actually.
Yeah, well, and I kind of agree with that, because that's the order of... No, maybe I like the... Okay, my favorite book is The Subtle Knife.
That I've heard so many people say that in reviews.
It's like hands down the best, because Will is such a good... You know what? Maybe because he's so relatable, because he's from our world.
Definitely could
but because everything is brand new to Will, like to Lyra, there's a lot of new things, but there's also things that she's already aware of. You know, like Dust isn't
Damon,
unknown,
right?
And the Damon, But everything to Will is brand new. So when he's taking it in stride, you're taking it in stride with him too. You're like, girl, we're learning it all together. So it feels like maybe he's like your companion, you know?
So he's kind of like an everyman that you can live through in a similar way, to the way in which you're an every woman with your pale mashed potato face.
Every woman.
It's all in Me.
You see, I took that negative thing you said and I turned it around.
You know what, girl? Anytime you want to take an insult and connect it to a Whitney Houston song, I support you.
You down?
I'm in. Didn't she sing that? Now I'm unsure. Shaka Khan?
Maybe that one.
I think it was Shaka.
Yeah.
You know what? Any of those songs.
You know what? You took a negative thing and you turned it around.
Shaka Khan!
I really hope it was Shaka Khan, not Erykah Badu, though.
Oh, I love Erykah Badu. Have you heard that Bag Lady song?
No, but is it about you?
Oh, Queen. It kind of. When I was traveling all the time for work, I'd listen to that in the airport.
Girl.
Which my friend Deirdre always did. She told me about it. Shout out to Deirdre.
Oh, shout out, baby. We miss you.
I miss that bitch. Yeah.
Oh, I hope you're doing good.
She is.
She's living that California lifestyle.
Yeah, she's got her pussy out and a doobie in her mouth right now. Boop, boop.
Hashtag living life.
Okay, I'm sorry. I interrupted once again.
Okay,
So, Will
okay.
is the everyman. That's the reason you like the second best, which I think a lot of people like. What about Mary Malone? Is she a person? I love her name.
Yeah.
When I was doing research, I was like, I love that name. Sounds like a drag name. I'm down.
To be honest, I remember her, but she came in... She might have come in the second book, but wasn't quite as important as she was in the third book.
Yeah.
And the third book is legit, like, just a fuck ton of information. Like, the third book is not whatever grade level it should be. Like, it should be much bigger and much... Like, he should spread it out and explain things more. Or maybe it should be 2 books and he should take his time. Like, it's just too much. And so I don't even remember the details of her very well.
Well, now, granted, you know, I'm coming to this from a Wikipedia place of having researched.
I mean, she's important, but she's no Will or Lyra.
I was really attracted to her, perhaps because she's not the protagonist. There was more easily available information. You know how that goes, right? Like, you can find more out about Treebeard online than you can about Frodo, because people are like, just read the fucking book. That's just, you know,
they're like, oh, you want to know about Frodo? Every other word.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is, Mary Malone, she was a nun originally in her past, right?
Yeah, I think, that sounds
She was a
right.
nun. And then I remember reading she fell in love, and that, like, destroyed somehow her faith in God or something.
Okay.
Which touched me, because I was like, yeah, girl, love will do that to you.
Yeah.
You know, the right love or the wrong love, I suppose. And then she becomes a scientist, right? And she has this, like, super technologically advanced computer that, like, is prophetic or tells her what to do.
Yes. She
That's
had,
crazy.
like, so an alethiometer is, like, this magical thing that tells you the truth, and she had, like, a science equivalent of it, I think. Like, it gave her the information that she could have gleaned from, like, a dark material, which is what they call the, you know,
fascinating
things. And when the kids found her, they basically just blew her fucking world
Yeah,
open.
I bet they did, yeah.
Like, she was like, science, 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 and they were like, that's great, we're gonna cut a hole right here in the air, and we're gonna go to this other world, you can come if you want. And she's like, okay. So in a way, Mary Malone is also the everyman.
Yeah. I for whatever reason, I feel connected to her. I like Mary Malone. She's my favorite character.
You know who I think we should feel connected to, but I don't at all because he's such an archetype? Is Lee Scoresby. I don't know if you read about him at all, but he's the Texan.
He's played by that old guy,
Sam Elliott.
Yes, who I fucking love.
Who looks exactly the same today as he did when that shitty movie came out.
Exactly.
So speaking of that shitty movie, I got you some facts and figures about that.
Oh, you got some information.
Right. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, Philip Pullman graced us with this beautiful trilogy. And in America, we have a long-standing tradition of taking beautiful, eloquent, amazing things and just, like, taking a big old heap of shit on top of it. And that is what Hollywood did. In the year 2007, December 7th to be exact, the movie The Golden Compass was released with really big name stars, right? Daniel Craig, Nicole Kidman, the little girl who played Lyra, whose name I can't remember, was adorable.
Dakota Blue.
Oh, yeah. What a cool name.
Blue something. She has, like, a hyphenated last name.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her. Her parents got divorced. I'm so happy.
It's an accomplishment.
So it came out, and it got 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb, so a solid D-. And it got a whopping 43% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I have to say, totes agree with.
100%. Girl, I may not have read the books, but I watched that fucking movie. It took me 3 tries. I couldn't get through it because... I'm sorry, did I interrupt your
No, please continue.
I do know about
You mad?
this. I'm mad because, look, here's the thing. You had Daniel Craig as her father. Mm-hmm,
her daddy uncle.
Her dad uncle, yes, which we know being from Arkansas.
Which is totally a thing.
The thing we understand.
Girl.
Not true. That's a stereotype that's not facts.
I think
Except
it
in
is
Morgan's
for, like,
family.
some people. It's definitely in Game of Thrones.
I think it's a reality for some people. We're on to you, Morgan. Yeah, anywho.
Her daddy uncle,
Lord
Asriel.
Asriel. Okay, Daniel Craig plays him. Fantastic actor, right? Mm-hmm. Gorgeous to look at.
Obviously.
Nicole Kidman.
Fierce.
Plays Mrs. Coulter, who is her mother.
Yeah, looking so fine.
Yeah. I think Nicole Kidman is great in that movie. Yeah. Personally.
It's too bad.
The movie is trash.
Yeah.
It is. My big problem with it is that it's too YA. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean that in a disparaging way to YA literature, but like, it's such a young feeling movie. It doesn't pull in older audience members at all. I didn't feel pulled in at all. The CG is over the top. It's like, can we please calm down for 2 seconds and stop making everything like a giant multicolored explosion? I'm not down for that. And the story suffers because they tried to fit it into this really basic Hollywood like timeline within the movie. It's horrible. Mm-hmm. It's horrible. I hate it. If you gave me a physical copy of it, I would burn it in front of you and dance upon the ashes. It's a bad movie.
Mm-hmm. That's just kind of bad for the environment. But like, I'm there with you on like the sentiment.
Equally important to your environmental bullshit, Christopher Lee's in that movie for 2 seconds.
Wait, who?
Christopher
when?
Lee. You hear me say Christopher Lee? He plays. Maybe it was supposed to be a bigger role if the movie had continued. Like, maybe, I know that the guy who's the antagonist in The Subtle Knife is a minor character in the first book. I read that online. Okay. He's like a nobleman of some sort. Maybe that's the character that Christopher Lee was playing, because he's in the movie for less than 5 minutes, as far as I can remember. Granted, it was real hard to pay attention to that shit show. And then he comes out. He never comes back. So maybe he was supposed to be that character who becomes the antagonist.
I legit don't remember, but may he rest in peace.
Yeah, sweet Christopher Lee.
Baby.
He reread Lord of the Rings every year.
He knew.
I know you know that.
He wanted to be Gandalf.
He would have been a great
Peter
Gandalf.
Jackson was like, "Oh, baby." He was like, "We got something for you."
I mean, well, it's very similar to how you always pretend you are the beauty. I'm like, girl, you're obviously the white wizard locked in a tower.
Anyway.
Why? In many colors. You're gay friendly. You're an ally.
But because I'm white?
LGBTQAI. No.
What's the I? Inclusion? What's the I?
Oh, I just intersex, I think. But I just made that up, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
There's so much spit on my spit guard.
Well, I wonder why.
Look at your spit guard. Do you have a lot of spit on yours?
Hell no.
Fuck you, bitch.
I keep my spit in my mouth. And
that's why you give that dry and crusty BJ.
Yeah,
what?
I guess so.
Okay, so...
No, I'm not done. I am done with my spit. I want to tell you more about the movie because this is going to blow your mind.
Tell me, Tex.
Okay, so it's one of those big Hollywood movies that they put all of this money into, right? And they don't expect it to do extremely well here because we know it's going to be shit. Like, they must have known it was going to be shit. But they knew they had an international audience, so they spent $180 million making this film.
Is that CGI, man?
Yep, that's CGI. And they made $372.3 million at the box office.
What?
And how much of that was from the U.S.? Only $70 million. They made $300+ million worldwide because that is their audience.
Well, and that's one of the reviewers I was watching on YouTube, he seemed like a lovely person, and I don't remember his name, so it's not important, but he said that he considered his Dark Materials trilogy to be second only to Harry Potter as far as books that are popular, like, with his age group, his friends, his family.
Interesting.
I thought that was fascinating. Yeah.
That is fascinating. So you rewatched the shitty movie. I haven't seen it in a hot minute. Do you have anything else that you want to say about the shitty movie?
Honestly, honey, not much.
No, don't
waste your time. It's really trash. It's not even it hits that really unfortunate place where it's too bad to enjoy in any legitimate way and too good to enjoy watching because it's bad. You know what I mean? It's just horrible. I hate it.
Well, I have excellent news for everyone out there who either hasn't read the book series, doesn't have time to read it, not quite sure about it, but wants to see something visually appealing. Thank the fake-ass Republic of Heaven from Philip Pullman that the BBC has decided to adapt the book trilogy.
Shut your mouth. I love when they adapt.
Yes, Queen. They never fuck shit up. Well, okay, that's...
Well, there might be.
But very rarely do they fuck shit up.
Much less so than we do in America.
Yeah, like they're definitely going to do a better job.
Pretty much guarantee we're going to fuck it up.
And you know they're going to do a great job because instead of making a movie, they've decided to make it a series, okay? And so there are going to be possibly a total of 5 seasons with a total of 40 episodes covering the 3 novels.
That's awesome.
Which is great.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
Is that coming out soon? Can we go binge watch this somewhere?
So it's not out yet, and there's no word on casting or the release date, but because it's been in production, there's a lot of speculation for a 2018 launch, so everybody should stay tuned, and of course, the fucking second we hear anything, it's going to be all over our Facebook page, right? I'm going to share the shit out of that.
Oh, heck yeah. Well, you know, Morgan, I have to tell you, it may not be too late for you to audition.
What? Were you going to say something hateful?
I was going to say
like
something
the
hateful.
Armored Bear.
Yeah.
Well, you can still audition for Mrs. Coulter's Damon, you know, the creepy-ass monkey.
I love that monkey.
Well,
I would be that monkey.
From one monkey to another.
I don't know what that means, but I think it's racially insensitive.
Oh, well, as we have said before, racial insensitivity is one of our strong suits.
I mean, being two white people, it's like our heritage.
Pretty much. But 2 other pieces of great information about that is the production team from Doctor Who are the people who are working on this, which is a good sign because it's a fantastic series. Mm-hmm. And then the person who is writing the adaptation is Jack Thorne, the co-author from Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So he's a really big name writer to be adapting this, which is really good news, I think.
I don't even care. I'm just jealous that that's his career.
I know.
I kind of want to kill him and steal his skin.
Well, now, a less violent route could possibly be you could just try to take that up as your career separately.
He's already done all that shit. How am I going to do what he already done?
There's a lot more books out there, BB.
No, there's no choice but to kill him and steal his skin.
You know, when you said it like the 3rd time, I understood. You're right.
Kill him. Take his skin.
Oh, but if you just say his name 3 times and you dance backwards and throw salt at the mirror, he actually just dies.
What's his name?
Because he's British.
Ron Pullman? Is that his name?
Jack Thorne.
Whatever.
Okay, so in addition to that amazing thing that we have to look forward to, I thought we could just mention briefly why we're even having this conversation today.
Oh, good point.
The new trilogy that's coming out.
It's called the Book of Dust trilogy. I wrote it. It is, well, let's see. How do I put it? It is an equal to everything that has come before, and I'm really proud of the series.
Are you talking like you are Philip Pullman? Are you reading verbatim an interview that you read?
I want you to watch closely while I unzip my face, and Philip Pullman comes out.
Yay!
Zip. What?
Because he's definitely British.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Where's the beauty?
She is right here. Oh my god, you're so drunk.
I'm sorry. I'm wasting so much time. Okay. I'm being ridiculous today. I don't know why. Okay. What were we talking about?
The Book of Dust, the trilogy. The very first one is coming out this October. It'll be out October 19th, in fact. And the book is called Bella Sauvage.
Which I believe means... okay, I'm not going to lie to you.
The Pretty Savage?
Oh, is that what it means?
I thought
it meant the savage belief.
Whatever you say, does it look like I looked up the translation? I did not.
I did take 3 years of French, and it helps me not at all. I assume that's French.
Go to college, kids.
Yeah, it's either the beautiful savage or the savage belief.
So
look it up. You have a phone.
You let us know. What are we here to give you information? This is bullshit. So basically this book is going to take place 10 years before the setting of the Northern Lights. So Lyra, who is the main character from His Dark Materials, will be born and a baby. And she will be a character in the book, but she's not the main character. And then the last 2 books will take place 10 years after the end of the Amber Spyglass.
So the series both begins and ends in a very real way with Lyra. Like, she is a constant throughout. She might not be protagonist, as you said, but she's there throughout the entire thing. And not only, another sort of decade kind of point of interest, is that it took him a solid 10 years to write this book. And I assume to put the groundwork in for 2 and 3 as well.
Yeah, of course. And I read that the second and third books shouldn't be too long to follow after, so he must be like at least kind of deep into writing them. Yeah. That's
that's interesting. That is the way that they really recommend writers create works these days. That, like, in our current like publishing economy, if you create one book. Did I say this last week on the podcast?
I don't think so.
I may have done, but it's something I've realized recently. If you write one book, they're like, that's great. Where's 2 and 3? 9 times out of 10, because they want to sell a series, because especially fantasy readers love to read
We're binge
series.
readers.
I mean, I get it.
And you know how we feel when you wait 7 fucking years to give us the next book.
How do we feel?
We feel not good, man. It's not good.
Is that the reason you have all those veins throbbing in your face, Morgan?
No, that's because I got a dick implant on my forehead.
A dick implant on your forehead?
I always wanted to be like a narwhal, but like different.
Dick wall!
I'm a dick wall? Can I be a nardick? It's kind of funnier. Well, whatever you might call it, babies. What you call dust is another matter. And so this new trilogy I'm trying to work on a smooth ass transition.
You're a winner. I'm just giggling about Nardicks.
We're going to make a t-shirt with Nardicks on it. It's going to be our first
Nardic and King Rat. Friends forever.
The Book of Dust trilogy is going to be really interesting because, like we said, dust is kind of one of the most fascinating parts of His Dark Material.
Not just fascinating, but also, I think, very complex and hard to understand. It's quite a mysterious
Which is
substance.
like most anything for you, really. So, like, what's different?
Okay, I don't appreciate you making fun of my mental capabilities or lack thereof.
Well, you said it.
Especially when you're stomping around on that leg that ain't the right color.
Yes, my leg is brown. I cannot believe you told the listeners.
Everybody knows now. She has a birthmark.
My daddy said it was a beauty mark. And you know what he told me? He told me run around the playground. And when little bitches come to talk, tell them. This is actually Jim, my dad.
I'm super excited. What did he tell you to say?
He said, if they ask you, what's dad? Or say some hateful shit, I'll turn to them all sassy. I'll snap. I'll say, oh, that's my beauty mark. It's so big because I'm so beautiful. Where's yours? Guess you can't see it.
That's
Snap your fingers, whip your hair, and then twerk it out.
And then nay. Yeah. Your dad told you that as a child? That's really, he's shady as fuck. That's great.
Okay, he is shady, but also he's like, my dad, I love him. He's like the sweet country man, and he has like such a sweet, like deep side. Like he will like legit like write poetry and leave it like on the mirror for like his wife, or like when he left my house recently after he came to visit. He left like little poems and little notes around the house for me to find. He likes to rhyme. He'll be like, I love you so. You're my little Mo. Have a good day, Dad. Because he's not like the best at rhyming. But like he starts off strong.
He's got the spirit though.
Yeah. Anyway, back to dust. Which is probably roughly the color of my brown leg.
Probably
translucent and tan.
What?
All in one. That's the color of my skin. I don't know.
So, like your leg, dust is confusing. Okay. So we've journeyed all over creation and your childhood. Let me ask you this question, Morgan, because I'm still maybe a bit confused. What is dust?
So dust is like this ethereal compound that floats around. It's everywhere, right? So it's like a big part of our world, and it holds together like the truth and the multiverse, and it's basically like interstellar dark matter, which is what Mary Malone was researching, right? I think she was researching interstellar dark matter. Okay. And Lyra was like, you mean dust?
She's so dusty. That's so embarrassing.
But it's also like conscious particles, right? They're not just like dead space. Like they're conscious is like the best way to describe it, I think.
Okay. Now that makes sense. That dovetails to me because some of the stuff I was reading online, people were like, well, dust it's all about consciousness. So it's born out of beings who are conscious. It accumulates the more conscious you become, but it also, when it like lands on you or whatever, touches you through your demon, your soul, whatever, your daemon, it imparts more consciousness and more wisdom and more like personhood to you. So it's really fascinating in that way because it's kind of like a God particle in a way, right? Because Pullman is making a fantasy universe that really does rely on science as opposed to magic as such. His God, it's not this fake ass shit that we're going to get to soon.
Right.
His real God is this particle that both comes from and feeds upon human consciousness. Which is frankly very similar to what I legit believe in real life. Yeah. So his Dark Materials is my Bible. I'm going to memorize it.
It's actually, it's very moving and profound, I think. And a really interesting thing about dust that I feel like you learn kind of at the end of the Amber Spyglass is that it has this kind of weird attraction to love. Because when Lyra and Will discover that they're in love, it's in a time when dust is suddenly fleeing the universe, the multiverse, and so this is like a big problem, and everything turns from like this whole battle with God and religion and tearing down the church to, okay, well, if we don't fix this problem, there will be no world to save, because without the dust, there's nothing.
Is the neighborhood being gentrified?
But anyways, so
Shit
it's leaving like really quickly, and then when Lyra and Will pretty much like vocalize their love, the dust suddenly like hovers. It like quits leaving so quickly. So there's something I think tied in there with like truth and love and like connectedness to the world.
Well, that makes sense to me because I don't know if you would agree with this, but my conception of love is very much one that is, you have to be conscious to love. And so much of love, people talk about like the kindness, the charity of love, blah, 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 whatever. But in my experience, romantic love is a selfish thing. It's just a selfish thing that two people share because you want each other. You want to possess each other and own each other. And of course, you cannot imagine owning or being part of another person if you yourself do not possess personhood or consciousness, right? Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense to me that love would be something it's attracted to. Unlike me, I'm not attracted to love. At all.
Yep. That makes sense.
I'm not a romantic. This isn't all just a tough exterior to hide my soft, gooey insides.
But love is the only construct that I love. That sentence made sense.
It did. I thought a lot about it. I'm coming back now, years later, and saying, yes, in fact, that makes sense. Let me tell you what.
Go and preach, girl.
I got my finger going. Let me tell you what doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So, Philip Pullman, sitting, drinking his tea, doing whatever he does.
Yeah, he's British.
He's British.
Tea time.
And he makes up all these damn characters. Girl, he makes up these armored bears.
Uh-huh.
He makes up these witches, kind of. He's got this whole idea for angels. He's got these little people with stingers. And then when it comes to the Egyptians, he don't make nothing up at all. That shit is hardly even made up at all.
Yeah. He was like, they're gypsies.
Egyptians. Right, and the reason gypsies are called gypsies is because of Egyptian heritage way, way back in the day, right? That's where it comes from. So, like...
Yes, I knew that. This is not new information.
I can tell from the really sophisticated look you have on your face.
Go on.
You're so sophisticated. But the Egyptians, like you say, they're essentially gypsies or like a transient people who have dark skin, wear bangles, understand magic and the way the world works and are gorgeous and
just, like,
full of fire.
cool people.
They're awesome, but it just kind of I'm not trying to like pick at the series, especially not having read it. I know I don't have that privilege, but I was a little let down by the Egyptians. I wanted them to be a little bit more different since everything else in the world is so creative. What'd you think?
Well, the Egyptians are a really big part of book 1 because Lyra, so she leaves Oxford to go with Miss Coulter, and Miss Coulter, she finds out later, is like not this nice, beautiful woman that she thinks she is. She's a horrible person, so she runs away. And then she wants to be with her friend, whose name I forget. It's like Roger or something. He was like her best friend in Oxford.
Yeah, little guy.
Yeah, but he had been kidnapped. And so she goes looking for him all on her own. And along the way, she meets all these cool people, like basically all the main characters. And she meets the Egyptians. And the Egyptians are the people that help her go to the place in the north. It's called like Bolvengard or something. It's like the compound where they hold all the children.
Oh, it's not Svalbard.
Oh, no, it is Svalbard.
It's Svalbard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they help her get to there, and then, because they also have some kids that have been kidnapped, there's this group of people taking kids called, like, grabbers or snatchers or...
Gobblers.
Gobblers. Oh, that's a scary word.
It is scary. And I thought that was a really interesting point, is like the lower, let's say lower class people or people who don't make as much money because they're all like street hawkers. They do these things or whatever. And they also happen to have brown skin.
Yeah.
They are the people who get their children gobbled or kidnapped the most. And I was like, well, that's life.
Yeah. And so they're with Lyra and she's like, my friend got kidnapped. And they're like, girl, we gotta go take our kitties back. And so they basically lead this expedition, and of course along the way she meets a lot more like cool people that affect her life, but they're the driving force. I mean, they help Lyra go like basically like fucking like fuck up shit as Svalbard and like get her friend back, who later her daddy uncle kills, but whatever.
Well, I mean, you know, you have to break a few eggs. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting. You know, Pullman is very connected to history. Do you know, is he a historian by any chance? Do you know what his life is like?
I don't know, but that would make an incredible amount of sense.
Because, for example, John Fa, who's like the leader of the Egyptians, that was
He's Lyra's homie.
Yeah, and he's a great character, you know. There was a man named John Fa who was, quote unquote, the king of the gypsies in the mid-1500s.
Oh, I'm sure it's connected.
He had to have pulled from that. And then Ma Costa, do you remember her?
Mm-hmm. She was like the mom of like a kid that... Mm-hmm. She was like the matriarch.
She was, yes. And she, not only is she the matriarch of the Egyptians, but she also is the nursemaid to, Lyra? I always forget. How do you say her name? Lyra. I don't know. For some reason, Lyra sticks in my head. But she was Lyra's nursemaid, at least in the books, when she was a little girl. So she actually, like, put her nipple in that baby's mouth.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Because Lyra was an orphan because her mom is actually Mrs. Coulter.
And her dad is off being a snow leopard or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Ma Costa, it's interesting. There is a word, Coster, which is pronounced Costa. And it is like a street hawker. Like, so a person who, like, sells things on the street and yells, and that's what she does in the books. Going. Yes, girl, he's pulling a Tolkien on you.
Oh, he totally is. Yeah, I like that, actually.
I do, too.
And I love that her name is Ma, and she's the matriarch, and then Fa is, like, the patriarch. Mm-hmm.
And then you got Fodder Coram as well, who's another funny name.
Those are all just, like, really great alternatives to, like, mom and dad that I'm exploring for my future life.
I shall never have children, but if my children called me Fodder with 2 Ds, I would be so into that.
But Fodder, what's for Christmas? You should speak to your kids. You're not ever existing. Speak to my kids in like weird accents so that they.
So I think I actually talk. So when you have your babies, when's that? What, like next week or two?
Yeah.
Or...
Oh my god.
Oh, shade.
I mean, this shirt
look
is
beautiful.
tight, but that
you
is
look
rude.
fantastic, and when you get pregnant, I'll be very pleased. But I'm always going to talk to your babies like this.
Fodder. Which also means shit, right?
Oh, does that mean shit?
Like blah 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 fodder.
Like fodder? Like cannon fodder? Fodder?
I can't tell if we're saying the same word. Honestly, let's just call it and move forward.
What did you think about Have I skipped over any stuff you want to talk about yet?
No, please keep going.
Being a white man, I do like to push ahead.
What's that?
Nothing, darling. Go make me a hot chocolate. I'll continue talking.
Oh my god,
okay?
Hot chocolate sounds amazing.
I have
but
hot
if it was
chocolate
like
in there.
cold, because like
You want chocolate milk. That's a different thing, bitch. Don't try to fool me with your witchcraft right now.
I would love some chocolate milk, thank you.
What do you... Connected to what we were just talking about, chocolate milk. What do you think about the witches in His Dark
I
Materials?
think like absolutely nothing about them. They're so unmemorable.
Forgettable. Yeah. I was bummed.
They basically end up being like messengers to hold other people's stories together. Like from what I remember no specifics about them except like later in book 3 where, because everyone's spread out across like different worlds in the multiverse, so the witches like go between places and like tell people like, Lyra, here's what's happening and blah blah blah, you should go there, and then she's like, okay, and then she does it. But like what other purpose they serve, I can't recall.
It's the one thing about them that I did find interesting is something they share with.
They have prophecies, I think.
They can be prophetic. They can do all the witchy things that we think of, or seemingly like they can make potions, do spell shit. But I love the idea that they live for so long that when they take on a mortal lover, like for example, Seraphina.
Yes.
Is that her person? Okay. She's like queen of one of these witch groups, right? She has sex with old Fodder Coram.
Yeah, she do.
Mm-hmm, Fodder. And
my mother and my father.
And for her, it's like those kind of romantic entanglements because human beings live so much less than them. Because witches can live up to like 1,000 years or over. Mm-hmm. It's like a blink of the eye that they're fucking this person.
So she just fucks everyone.
She just fucking left, right, up, down. Fucking the armored bears.
Doesn't.
I mean, I would fuck an armored bear.
I don't know if I
Not
would.
true.
Yeah, it's a lot
Not
to
true.
like take in like side of you. But
Just
like,
a bear is fine, but an armored bear?
Yeah.
That's a violent bear. Yeah. So yeah, the witches, meh. Also not impressed with the witches.
You know, the one thing I did just remember while you're talking about them is they did create a prophecy that is like really important, and it's that Lyra will be, she's like a rebirth of Eve.
Oh yeah,
like
original sin.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like Lyra is born to basically like upturn religion. And so because of that, people want her dead, which is really unclear what Mrs. Coulter's role is in that, kind of until the end when she decides that she wants Lyra to live and she's there to save Lyra. But then it's like, what's with all this fucked up stuff you've been doing this whole time then? Like, why suddenly you want to be a good person, you know?
That's like when I turn to you and look deeply into your eyes and say, Morgan, I love you, I wish the best for you. And all you can think is, all you've said is hateful shit to me for the last decade. How dare you try to take a different side now?
I'm sorry, I was Snapchatting. What were you saying?
No worries. You're Lyra and I'm Nicole Kidman. No big deal.
You know what? I think you die at the end of this series, so I'm cool with it.
Not only do I die, I give my body to the most evil of angels in order to save the world. You're welcome, you broke down, cranked out whore.
You said this of a child. Lyra is just a little temptress.
She's a brat, is actually what she is. I have to tell you, you were talking about people liking Will as the everyman. In the movie and in the excerpts I read, I was like, I get that Lyra's 12 and 12-year-olds are horrible. I was horrible at 12. But I don't find her to be the most engaging character because I don't like her that much. No shade.
Okay.
All tea, no shade, though.
I honestly, it's been so long since I've read it that there is so many details that are forgettable, but I don't recall having a particular attachment to Lyra. And I think you're probably right. Maybe that's why I like the second book so much, because Will is so great, and it was like, thank God Lyra has something to live for.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. Who has anything to live for at 12, though? What were you living for at 12, you think?
When I was 12, I had just switched schools to middle school with you. I was living for the promise of boobs in the future.
Ooh, well, hey, that came to you.
You were most certainly my closeted boyfriend, so I had that going for me. I don't know. I was generally, like, well-liked, which was cool. That was kind of a time before people were just, like, hateful for no reason. I had a gap tooth, which in 10 years would be back in style if I had just waited long enough.
I lived for your gap, but you never did.
Thank you. Yeah. I wasn't, like, into the Madonna thing. But besides that, I lived for, like, Pokemon cards, Sailor Moon, and the Nutty Buddy bars my grandparents bought me.
Well, and so I guess...
and the next Harry Potter book, of course.
Of course. Well, obviously. So I guess maybe Lyra's shittiness, at least what read as shittiness to me, no offense to anyone, is maybe understandable, right? Because her world has been very... She's been stuck at this college, right? And she's been waited upon. She's considered a lady. She's given all the privileges.
Yeah, it sounds so cool, but I guess when you think about it, if you live that as your existence every single day and you don't get to, like, basically leave the walls of the college, it would seem boring.
Especially when she's a very high-spirited, like, rebellious...
Adventurer.
Yeah, well, she's got a lot of dust. Well, I guess not yet. It's slowly accumulating, right?
Yes.
Because it accumulates as you get older, but... I mean, she is the new Eve, right? She's got plenty of personhood. So it'd be hard for her.
So before we move forward with this, what did you live for at the age of 12?
Oh my god. I lived for your gap.
Thank you.
I lived for a holographic Charizard card.
Yeah, you did.
I lived for any time I wasn't in church, because that was back when we used to go to church 4 days a week.
Oh my god.
Girl.
Fran, if you're listening, it's too much, baby.
I have too much, baby. I told her. Honestly, for me at 12, it was about survival, but in the very small scale. So, like, you're talking about being well-liked at school.
Yeah.
Being well-liked was incredibly important to me because it's what I knew, right?
Yeah. Well, with this arm candy, baby, you can't go wrong.
Okay. Yeah, that is how I got through middle school, is you on my arm. That's facts.
Well, it didn't hurt, I think.
No, it didn't hurt at all. Actually, you probably protected me a lot, speak of that. But it was a very small worldview, but I really was just looking to survive and be liked and not give away any of my secrets.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's why her hair is so big.
It's full of secrets.
Yeah. So before we talked about that, we were talking about how Lyra is not likable.
Oh yeah.
And before that we were talking about witches.
Oh yeah. Thanks for pulling this back. The only big witches that I found in my research are old Seraphina, and then there's another, like, witch queen whose name is Ruta Scotti, which is a good name.
I don't remember her name at all.
I think she's
Seraphina is, like, the only name I remember from the witches.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have much more to say about them. I thought the long life was interesting, but everything else about them, I was like, this is... not that. I wasn't blown away.
You want to talk about the armored bears?
Girl, yes. My favorite one, her name is Morgan.
Aww.
She's hairier than the others.
Girl, I don't give zero fucks. I will happily bear that cross because the armored bears
You'll bear that bear?
Cool. I'll bear the bear!
So what do you like about the armor bears?
So what I like about the armor bears is that Lyra makes friends with Iork Byrnison. He's like her bear friend, and like I can't remember if it's super clear to her that he has been cast down from his community. Perhaps he told her, perhaps he didn't. But he basically helps her. He's like, yeah, fuck those people in Svalbard. Let's go fuck some shit up and like save some little kids. And they go do that. And then Lyra, in like a dick move, if you ask me, somebody tells her Lord Asriel's her uncle dad. And so she finds that out. And she discovers that he got captured when he was trying to go north to be like at the center of the Northern Lights. And he's being held captive by the Bear Clan, like Iork's old Bear Clan. And she's like, oh, well, I'm going to go save him. And so she goes, and either she learns or already knew that Iork used to be the captain or like the leader, whatever, the clan leader. And he got cast down by being defeated in battle. So she tells the new captain, she's like, okay, well, here's the deal. You'll release my uncle dad if you lose in battle to Iork Byrnison. Otherwise, you get to like kill me or keep me forever. Right? So she totally puts him on the spot, and he comes through like a total fucking homie, and he comes and he battles like a person that's like beat him before until victory.
So I thought that bear who gets killed by Iork or whatever, his name is Iofur Ragnarsson. Yeah. That's a name and a half.
Yeah, he was a fierce bear too.
He was fierce. I mean, as in physically fierce animal.
Scurry.
He wasn't very snap fierce because
No.
he didn't.
None of the bears are snap fierce. They're all very serious.
They are very. But he also like I didn't like that character. That was a fine character. I just didn't like it because I was like, girl, you are an armored bear. Right? Not only are you an armored bear, you are the clan leader of the armored bears, and all you want to do is be a puny little human. And have
he
have
wanted a daemon. That's what he wanted to keep Lyra as his daemon.
Yes.
That was his
and she
prize.
played all that higgledy-piggledy with him. I thought that was really interesting because now maybe I'm running down a crazy path here, but one, the Iron Bear's geography that is being way up north, right? And two, their fondness and weakness for whiskey and alcohol.
Those little drunkards.
They are little drunkards, not that we can judge.
Girl,
we're throwing back this wine. I had 4 before you got here.
No,
That's why
you
I'm
didn't.
so happy. No, I didn't. Girl, I'd be so drunk.
You would be drunk.
But to me, they were reminiscent of indigenous peoples. So, like in the Eskimo tribes or indigenous peoples of like northern Canada.
Like it's so cold. What can we do? Let's drink this alcohol.
Well, and it's strange because like Native Americans, they have. I don't know. You know, I grew up on American Indian reservation, and it is a plague. Like alcoholism is a plague, and at least the reservation I grew up on. Maybe it's different other places, but I don't think it is. So. I don't know. I'm sure someone knows how to explain it. But so that fact that the armored bears were kind of obsessed with alcohol, really made that more resonant to me. And then I started thinking about like indigenous peoples or any people who maybe are not happy being the unique culture that they are, and they want to assimilate, right? It happens a lot in the queer community. It's happened, actually. The queer community has been assimilated. It's something I worry about a lot because I don't want to be assimilated as a minority, but on the other hand, I don't want to be in danger or be persecuted or be afraid, and you really can't have it both ways, seemingly. So that was something, I don't know. I thought
it's a really great way to like talk about them.
Oh, thanks. Sometimes I talk about things good ways. Yeah. I thought the armored bears were
fascinating.
One of the most fascinating aspects of the series.
And they continue to be, I think. Like their involvement in everything is like perplexing because like why does Ior care so much? Like he's attached to Lyra. Maybe he has that weird fascination that the other bear, Mr. Ratness or whatever, had. Like, maybe he just doesn't want to vocalize it, but, like, that's probably the same way he feels.
So you're telling me he wants to stick his bear dick into her?
No! God, you always take it to bear dicks, and it's like...
What am I supposed to do?
It's like, we were barely talking about bear dicks.
Barely talking about bear dicks?
They're big, though. Anyway... Okay, what other races are fascinating?
There's only one more. Well, I guess there are 2 more. But let's talk about the small ones first. The Galavespians?
Okay, I remember them not at all, so you just tell me what you know.
Okay, so I'm gonna...
They're the little people?
They're little people, and I'm gonna attempt to say their names, and forgive me.
They're the Mufalettas?
Chevalier... No, not the Mufalettas? Those are the things that can see the dust. Okay. I didn't even put those down, because I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah, anyway.
They're weird. But no, there's these tiny little things about the size of a hand. They have poisonous spurs on the ends of their feet.
Oh, yeah.
They tend to be spies. They're proud. They work with Lord Asriel. Yeah, and so the 2 that we know, there's one named Chevalier Tialis.
Okay.
And then there's a female Galavespian named Lady Salmakia.
Oh, yeah,
does that sound familiar? Probably don't say those names at all. I thought they were interesting though because it's kind of a new take on like fairies, like fairy story fairies, those tiny little winged things. And they're kind of shitty. They're really rude and I don't know, I thought it was interesting.
I really don't remember them.
Well, I mean, that's indicative though, right? There's so many
but
different
it has been
races.
a while.
Yeah.
But perhaps...
And you're not very bright.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it is not true. I can't go with that.
Okay, so those are races
so they exist.
of something.
Yeah, they help act as spies and messengers, kind of like the witches. But let's talk about the real thing that...
The angels?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the angels.
That's what we've been building up to.
The angels are like straight up like mafia henchmen.
Yeah. They're tough as shit.
They're for real, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like... They are, like, I don't like them, and you can tell that Philip Pullman is an atheist by the way he has constructed heaven as a republic and God as a dictator. And the way he has constructed angels to essentially be henchmen, though there are some angels that are like there are levels of like angels and their goodliness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like some angels are good and they want to do good and they want things to change, right? And
like,
then some angels are fucking assholes.
And Balthamos.
Yes.
Right? Those are our two fringe angels. Right?
They're kind of like, for a second, they're kind of like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Yeah, except in love with each other. Well,
yes.
More obviously in love with each other.
Well, but they have this like, what's a better word for unisex? They're all just like androgynous. Like all good angels should be.
Amen.
Yeah, so they do have like an interesting relationship, but I would love to hear your take on the angels.
Oh, it's my time?
You have the floor.
My time?
Just kidding, it's over.
Oh no. This is what always happens to queer people.
Yeah.
We're given a seat at the table and then they just explode the table.
Well, it's just like there's not like a lot of room because we have to like bring our dogs.
That hurts me even more because living in Austin, I often get shunted out of the way by dogs.
Oh, there's a lot
that
of dogs.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I have a game that we're going to play later on that's all about angels.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you not to give too much away.
I won't because I don't remember too much.
Okay, good. But there is one thing I wanted to read, and I want you to tell me if you can remember which angel this corresponds to. He is God, the Creator, the Lord, Jehovah, Yahweh, El, Adonai, the King, the Father, the Almighty. Those were all names he gave himself. He was an angel like ourselves, the first angel, true, the most powerful, but he was formed of dust. Which angel is that?
I literally have no idea. Balthamar's.
Good guess. You really do know, though. He's the authority. The angel who is encased in that. The God. He's quote unquote God.
Oh.
Right? So you remember.
Oh, the authority.
The authority.
Yeah.
The old,
God
frail. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I thought was fascinating. And I could see why if I was deeply Christian or deeply religious.
It would be offensive.
I would be pissed. Yeah. I would be pissed.
But yes, I totally understand that too, because when people are committed to this idea that there's only one God and that their God is not the same God as the other religions, they get really testy about it. But like that angel / the authority / God said, he is Yahweh, he is all these other people, they are all the same thing. He gave himself these names and you are his followers and he is just one authority figure. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Well, that's, you know what, though? It's the difference almost, though, between someone saying, I'm your boss, and someone saying, I'm your mother, I gave you life, right? It's like, in both cases, you're like, okay, I need to follow.
Okay.
Generally, I need to, but what he was pretending that he gave us all life and he's the creator, when in fact, he's just the most senior employee. I'm not impressed. And he's bedraggled and old as shit. And Metatron done come up through the ranks. Metatron done encased him in crystal. Metatron done have plans.
Well, and then
us.
They kill that fool.
They kill all those fools.
They kill all those fools. But then, like, at the end, Lyra, like, tries to save God, but she only, like, barely tries. I don't even really remember, but I remember she was like, no, we can't do this. We have to save him. And then he dies and she's like, oops, he's dead.
I think.
And then, like, kind of nothing happens when he dies, which is indicative of Pullman's feelings on God as well.
Well, of his godlessness, right? He's just another being. He's not a god.
Well, and then it's interesting, too, because with the new upcoming trilogy, it's 10 years after the end of the Amber Spyglass. And so they talk a lot at the end about doing all these things to fix, like, righting the wrongs they've done. And one of the big rights that they want to do is they want to close all of the loopholes, all the portals, all the, places between the worlds, which means they have to put everything back in its place, including Will and Lyra, so they have to be separated forever. And they want to, quote unquote, rebuild the Republic of Heaven. So I don't even really know what that means. Like, what does that even look like? Hopefully we'll get a glimpse into it.
I think that sounds super exciting. Because I read this little blurb that was, I'm pretty sure it was Pullman talking, though I could be wrong. And he said that the Book of Dust trilogy, both the first 10 years before and the second and third 10 years after, are about the scientific investigation of dust.
Okay.
Okay, I'm interested in that. They're about the genesis of totalitarian regimes, right? So how the angels built up this hierarchy, and most importantly and crucially, what happens when God dies. Okay. Right? Like, how do we, God, quote unquote, right? Which reminds me, did you ever read Preacher? Do you know that?
But they made that into an AMC show.
And it's supposed to be a relatively good show, but I couldn't really get into it. But that's kind of the pearl of plot that's in Preacher that sets everything off is God isn't dead, but he's left. He's gone. So like we have an absent throne. How do we all survive without a quote unquote God? So I'm really excited to see, especially where the second and third books in this trilogy go, because I want to explore that idea.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And I think that Pullman is a fantastic writer, which is why it's so perplexing this book series isn't more widely loved. And he's such a prolific writer.
Oh, mad prolific. Yeah, he the first book of the Dust trilogy is going to be his 30th book.
What?
Yes.
That's actually mind-boggling.
Yeah. I don't understand how people do it. I've been working for 6 years on a sticky note. You know what I mean?
Girl,
it's so fucking sad. Let's see. Did you ever read his Sally Lockhart series? Pullman's Sally Lockhart series?
No. I don't even know anything about it.
So it's essentially, I think it's like a series of detective novels. They came out between 1985 and 1994. And they were one of his like bigger sort of money makers, and something that gave him a lot of, cultural cachet. And he's also written a shit ton of children's books, in addition to all of his dark materials stuff. Mm-hmm.
He also wrote some companion, books.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. They're really short, so whatever you would call that. But I read, how many were there? There was 1, 2, there's 3 of them, and I only read the first 2, because the last one came out pretty recently. Lyra's Oxford, which was kind of just, an account of, her, where she lived. They always refer to it as Lyra's Oxford to keep it straight because of the multiverse. So, that's Lyra's Oxford versus Will's Oxford. And then Once Upon a Time in the North gives you a little more information about what's going on in Lyra's world in the North and all that jazz.
Up near the armored bears and shit like that?
Yeah, North we're in the Svalbard, and then Lord Azrael traveled maybe to the North Pole is where he opened the anomaly to cross over into a world. And he had to release that's why he killed her friend. He had to release a great burst of energy to open this anomaly, and he didn't have the subtle knife, otherwise he would have used that. So instead he just murdered her friend. He severed the demon, and it let out a burst of energy.
So I wanna get back to that because I have a really interesting thing I want to tell you about. But first, I just have to ask you, Morgie, how does he not become villainous when he kills her Biffer? Having not read this series. Oh, so how does she feel about him? Is he a good guy, bad guy?
She's so upset about it, but she has to follow him because she found out he's her father. So even though he did this horrible thing, maybe she wants to confront him. I don't remember, but her quest is I have to find my dad. I have to find my dad. And then of course along the way she gets sidetracked, whatnot, with God and angels and
I'd like you to.
All that jibber jabber.
That's interesting because when I read that in the, just my broke down fucking Wikipedia synopsis, I was horrified when I read that, and I was like, okay, I thought he was someone that Lyra could depend on and look up to.
It's very upsetting when he does it, universally terrible.
But I guess that's life, isn't it? It's even the best people sometimes do things that we're like, bitch, why?
Bitch, why?
Bitch, why? Okay, so I've got an exciting thing for you. Okay? This is timely because this connects to something that you were asking about our last episode.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So I pulled together this thing. I don't really have a good term for it, but I'm calling it the secret history of prose fiction links. That's the most boring thing I've ever heard in my life.
Alrighty.
I'm sorry. But remember you were asking last episode, you were like, who is a novella? And who is she? And what is she about? And what does she do? Well, Lyra's Oxford, which you were mentioning earlier, right? All about whatever. 64 pages long. Okay?
Okay, just a baby.
It's a baby. Because it's 64 pages, that is a novella. Okay? So here's the way it works out. A novella is anywhere between about 17 pages up to about 89 pages. Right? That's anywhere between 17,000 and 40,000 words.
Okay.
Okay? And by the way, I saw on Urban Dictionary, you can use novella as a term that means gossip. So we're coming in and you were like, girl, why are you looking so crazy? And I say, girl, shit has gone down today. You better get a glass of wine. I have some novella for you.
Ooh, I like
Yes.
that. Let's incorporate that.
Let's do that. Just like mummy muff, which is the word I made up that's on Urban Dictionary.
It's totally happening.
Mummy muff, it's happening. Okay, but going back to the shortest, you've got flash fiction, okay? Flash fiction is also known as short fiction or microfiction or postcard fiction. What? That's really what they call it.
I know, it's just dumb.
I know it is dumb, but it's anywhere between 53 and 1,000 words.
Oh.
So like a paragraph to 2 pages. Very small.
What's it called? Flash fiction?
Flash fiction is what you mostly hear, but I see a lot of like postcard fiction or microfiction too. Short I don't often see. But it's pretty in vogue right now, actually. A lot of contests I look at are about flash fiction. And Lovecraft did a lot of flash fiction. And then there's a woman named, do you know Lydia Davis?
No.
She essentially has made her entire career on flash fiction.
Good
She's
for
a contemporary writer. So, okay, flash fiction, the shortest. Now, moving up one little bit, you've got short stories, okay? And short stories are meant to be read in a single setting. That's what originally made them, quote-unquote, short stories. They're anywhere between 3,500 and 7,500 words, which is like about 8 to maybe about 16 and a half, 17 pages.
Yeah,
okay?
cool.
So you got that length going on. Now, novelettes, which you brought up the last time, I think because I brought them up. Here's the thing about novelette. Oh, by the way, as far as short stories, I know we all know short stories, but like The Pit and the Pendulum by Poe, that's a short story. The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Girl, that's my favorite short story.
Okay.
I'm going to have to hook you up with that.
Yes, you will.
Novelettes, though, moving on, they're between 17 and 39 pages. And honestly, they're not really. People don't even use the term novelette very much anymore. It used to be like a lot of romances were considered to be novelettes back in the day. But now it's more or less a dated term. You just call it a short story or you call it a novella, which is the same length between 17 and like 90 pages, right?
Okay.
A novelette would be shorter, 17 to 40, but you just call it all a novella. And then last but not least, of course, you have novels, right? Those are 90 or more pages. So even though Once Upon a Time in the North, that other Dark Materials work you mentioned, it's only 104 pages long. But it's a short novel. It's not a novella.
Okay.
So, to put this a different way, if we were going to write out your good qualities, flash fiction. If we were going to write out your bad qualities, encyclopedic novel. Huge. Thousands of pages.
Huge.
Oh, please. Oh, I shuddered. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. In one ear and out the other.
90 pages. That's all. The only thing you really need to remember is 90 pages. Under 90, it's a novella, unless it's tiny and flash or short.
Yeah.
And then over 90, it's a novel.
Ooh,
Easy
okay.
peasy.
So I just write a little ditty. I love it.
So yeah, so that's my little series 3. Just as a last thought, some novellas of note beyond Lyra's Oxford. The Metamorphosis by Kafka.
Yes.
It's a novella. And Of Mice and Men by Steinbeck. It's another novella. Cool.
What? It is?
Because well, at least that's what I saw on Goodreads.
Well, I'm sure it is then.
Well, if it's false, I blame
Well, I haven't
foreigners.
read it in a long time, but I remember it being so much longer.
Oh, there's a lot that it's emotionally, it's a very long
yeah,
game.
it's very heavy. Okay.
What does he say? Rabbits? Bunnies?
Girl,
Rabbits.
I don't know. I just remember mice and I remember men.
All right, bitch. What's next on the docket?
Okay.
Coming with no Steinbeck knowledge ass.
Girl, I didn't have to. This ain't the Steinbeck cast.
That's an episode I would do in the future. It doesn't really fit our whole podcast idea, but I love me some Steinbeck.
So anyways, Philip Pullman this year, when the Grenfell Tower fire happened in London, he did a great thing. What are you laughing at? It's a very
I didn't
serious
realize
matter.
when you made that joke that it would connect so intimately to an actual real life tragedy.
I feel kind of bad. Death is not funny.
Sorry, I wouldn't have laughed.
Also, it's never too soon. I don't know.
That's true.
I'm torn.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
So the Grenfell Tower fire was an apartment complex that burned down in like West London because the building was made of flammable material, which was an intense oversight.
It was essentially sheathed in like...
They just poured gasoline.
Yeah, I mean,
and they were
essentially,
like,
yeah. Yeah, the entire outside of the building.
So really unfortunate. And a lot of authors and a bunch of great community people, lots of people in the UK came together to raise money for the families who lost everything. And Philip Pullman entered an auction to auction off the naming of a character in the Dust trilogy. And he named a character after one of the victims in the tower fire. Her name was Neruda. And he said this really elegant thing that I didn't write down to remember, but basically he said that it's total shit that she's dead, and he feels very deeply sorry about it, and that he hopes that the character he creates is somebody that she would have wanted to know, which is really beautiful.
That's very kind.
Yeah, and so he auctioned off, he raised like 35,000 pounds or something, which is intense, and he named it after her, and it's forthcoming in the second or third book, so we'll see Neruda. So when you read these books and you read the character Neruda, just remember that sweet, sweet thing this man did.
What a fantastic name as well. I mean, not to make it like not emotional, but that's just a great character.
Yeah, so it's a win-win, really.
Aw, what a nice man. See, atheists can be kind.
They can. Absolutely. Yeah. Not all atheists.
No, some of them are hateful and mean. But then as far as that goes, there's a shit ton of Christians who are hateful, mean, bigoted. Woo, don't get me started. I got a sweat rag.
But on the other hand, we have friends of all faiths and non-faiths
That's
here
true.
at Beauty and the Bitch.
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got lovely Christian friends, lovely Muslim friends, lovely friends without religion, lovely friends in cults, lovely Mormons, potato.
So, you know what else we got, Mickey?
What's that?
We got games! Going to the game corner, gonna play some games real fast! Yeah! I think we had a fucking question. So, we got games. Why don't you get us kicked off, Mickey?
Am I doing Two Truths and a Lie? Is that what we're doing first?
Hell yeah, boy!
Okay. I'm psyched! Okay, so...
Welcome back to Broadcast, where all the bras go.
It's a beauty and... No, bra in the bra. Bra in the bra. Okay,
but it's funny because you're like a bra, but I wear a bra.
Exactly.
It's like, I'm a beauty and you're like a bitch.
Yeah, so essentially, What?
You said yeah.
No, I said, yeah, that's not true, and moving on.
You
so sneaky. Okay, so I've got 2 true things and 1 false thing for you. Okay? They're all about old Philip Pullman. What's his name? Is that his name?
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton. All right. First, Pullman once met Tolkien at a dinner when he was attending Oxford. Okay. Has he met the Ascended Master? That's really the question. Okay. 2, Pullman, it's rumored, dallied with men while he was at school. Had a little faggotry going on. The most constant male companion was a sadly now dead English nobleman named Sebastian.
Okay,
possibility. And last, Pullman wrote and directed the school play each year that he attended Oxford.
What school play? Just the school play?
I did like an Oxford school play, I guess.
I feel like the second one's not true because it was like lots of details, but they were kind of vague.
I fucking hate you.
Is that right?
I'm gonna do it. I made it up on the spot, but next time I'll do a better job. Yeah, it's not true. Actually, the English nobleman named Sebastian is actually one of my favorite characters. He's Sebastian from Brideshead Revisited.
Oh, wait. Is that like a book you like?
It is a book, it is a movie, and it is a TV series.
Don't you have it on like box set?
Sure
because you're like really old at heart.
I'm ancient, yes.
But is it like good? Should I watch it? Is it like Downton Abbey? Tell me more.
Yes, it is like Downton Abbey. I think it is fantastic. It's by a man named Evelyn Waugh. I know it's not what we think of as a man's name, but he's a pretty famous English author, and it's about Brideshead Revisited, the name of the giant estate that this boy Sebastian's heir to, and the protagonist, whose name I've forgotten right now, he's an everyman. He goes to Oxford, I believe, and he falls in love with Sebastian, but this is back in the day, like I think, Jesus, like the 20s or 30s maybe, and so, you know, it's a love that dare not speak its name, but Sebastian's like this amazing, beautiful, rich, funny, spoiled gay character, and the protagonist is fucking fine as shit.
Nice.
And they fall in love and all these things happen. It follows their lives from Oxford to adulthood, essentially. It's amazing, and you should definitely check it out. It's called Brideshead Revisited.
Nice. All right. Well, I have some truths and some lies for you today as well.
Give it to me.
Okay. Mine is all about the alethiometers.
Ooh.
Okay. The alethiometer origins are Greek, and they mean truth meter. Truth meter.
Okay, I'm listening.
Or, in the world of his dark materials, only 6 alethiometers were ever created.
Possibility.
Only 6.
Okay.
Or, alethiometers must be bound in gold to properly function with dust.
Interesting. What was the first one again?
The alethiometer origins are Greek, and they mean truth meter.
Okay, I read something online that said that the origins, that does sound like possible Greek as far as like the words, like alethi could mean truth. But on the other hand, I read online that it's based on something Chinese, like I Ching or something like that. So I'm just going to follow that source. They might be leading me astray and say that's the falsehood.
That is actually true.
Fuck my heart! I hate the internet!
What an idiot!
So it's the gold thing that's false.
It's the gold thing, yeah.
That was the other one I wasn't sure about.
Yeah. That one in the middle, that there was only 6 ever created, was true, but also interesting because when Lyra left Oxford, the headmaster was just like, here's this alethiometer, take it. Bitch, if there's only 6, you give it to a 12-year-old girl? I don't think so.
They given Hermione time turners. They
Girl.
given Lyra alethiometers. Why don't we? This is why we can't have nice things.
We get nothing.
You don't give no child nothing. Nothing but sackcloth.
Yeah, and chores.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a really good mom.
You are. I can't wait.
You.
I can't wait. I'll walk up and be like, did your mother beat you today?
And she'll be like, I'm sorry, what? Because I'm going to teach her really well.
You know me. Father Mick.
Oh, no. Fodger.
We're going to destroy your child. I'm so sorry. Okay. I speaking of children who are angels, I have a game that's all about angels.
Okay.
Okay, little known fact. My mom's nickname for me was Angel when I was little. My little angel.
Angel.
Oh, look at me. And now I've fallen on hard
Girl.
times. So this game is called Angelology, which is the study of angels. And it is subtitled, because I'm an extra bitch, Friendly, Fallen, or Fabuloso. Okay?
Okay.
So, I'm going to give you a name. It's either going to be the name of a friendly or like, quote-unquote, good angel.
Okay.
It's going to be the name of a fallen angel.
Like Satan.
Like Satan.
I believe it's pronounced Satan.
Satan. Or it's going to be the name of a cleaning product, like Fabuloso.
Satan is like Satan's gay-ass alter ego that wears ascots and sunglasses inside.
Yeah, and a beret. For sure a beret.
And his friends are like, Satan, are you ready to go to brunch?
And Satan's like, everyone's always hassling me.
I really like Satan. There should be like a comic series starring Satan.
That's a really good idea, actually. Okay. So I'll read the name.
Copyright 2017.
Copyright Beauty and the Bitch 2017. Satan.
Okay. Wait, what were my choices?
So your choices are Friendly, Fallen, Fabuloso.
And what does that one entail?
Fabuloso is cleaning products. Like, do you know that cleaning product Fabuloso?
No.
It is something back
it's like OxyClean or something?
It's like floor clean. It's like a multi-purpose cleaner, but it's purple, and like a lot of restaurants and industries use it.
Okay,
cheap.
got
cheap
it.
and useful. Okay, so first up, Friendly Fallen or Fabuloso? Domestos.
I'm sorry.
Are you still thinking about Satan?
Yes. Okay. Oh, I can't make a face. It's just like really funny to me for some reason. And also, Satan falls under Fabuloso.
He does. Can you imagine him being like, I didn't fall from heaven to attend the substandard brunch.
Satan. Okay. Oh, okay. What was the question? I mean, the word
name
you said.
is Domestos. Friendly Fallen or Fabuloso?
Fabuloso.
Ah, good job. Yeah, Domestos is a household cleaning bleach that is about 10% chlorine instead of 5%, which is normal. Oh. It's really powerful.
Are you?
Yeah. So I would recommend your face, Domestos.
Okay.
You need it.
Got it.
Abraxas.
Friendly.
Fallen, actually.
Yeah, you know, after I said it, I was like, he actually sounds like a dick.
Consorting with the devils. Well, actually, it's interesting. His status is debatable because some of the crazy angel people websites I visited said he was good, and some said he was bad, so that's dangerous.
Oh.
But he, back in the day, before he fell, ruled the winds. He was like an angel of the winds. And in Gnostic lore, he is the supreme unknown. So he's actually quite powerful.
That's kind of awesome.
I know, yeah. But be careful, he might be fallen.
Girl?
Swarfega.
Oh, Fabuloso. No, just... Oh, yeah!
Oh, I just gave it away. I should let you change it. Damn it. You got it right, yeah.
What is that, like a Swedish house cleaner?
Swarfega. It is, it's a heavy-duty hand cleanser that's good for, like, printers that you could grease or oil.
Oh, weird.
Oh, yeah. To be honest, the cleansing products I didn't spend too much time on. You might want to spend more time on them later.
Girl,
oh,
shade.
shit. Azrael.
Fallen.
Friendly-ish. So, obviously connected to Lord Azrael, right? It's spelled with a Z instead of an S, but otherwise the same name. This was, in the Hebrew Bible, the angel of death. So kind of, friendly, but maybe not someone you want to see.
But like a baller name.
Yeah, it's a good name. And, oh God, in the Gnostic literature, his whole body consists of eyes and tongues.
Nope.
One for each person alive. So 7-point-something billion eyes and tongues.
Gross.
Yeah, and as the people die, the tongues and eyes fall off. And so at the end of humanity, he'll be the very last thing to die. When the last
he'll just be
dies.
like a blank canvas and like one eye, one tongue?
I don't know. He becomes just one. I don't know. Is there a body underneath the eyes and tongues? I don't know.
Gross.
Maybe it's pretty.
I don't
Maybe
like
it's ugly.
it.
Yeah, his physical look is not so much. Okay, here's one you're going to recognize. Metatron.
Fallen.
Friendly, actually. According to religious stuff in the real world. Now, he might actually be fallen. That's the whole point of the book, right?
Sure.
You think he's friendly, he's actually fallen. But he's the Jewish archangel of recording, so he's essentially like...
I'm sorry, he's not a transformer? This is very confusing.
You're so embarrassing. Yeah, no, no, he doesn't transform at all. He's essentially like the celestial scribe, so he's actually not that exciting. He's the secretary.
Oh.
Right? And Alan Rickman plays him in Dogma. Do you remember Dogma?
Oh, yeah.
Metatron is the voice of God in Dogma, played by Alan Rickman.
Yeah, and so, God played by Alanis Morissette.
Avi?
You ought to know.
But we didn't even mention, by the way, Nails Down My Back, Hope You Think of Me, etc. Yes. Do you remember who does the voice of what's his name?
Iorg Bernison?
Yeah, do you remember that voice?
No.
God, you do too.
Nuh-uh.
You do too.
Nuh-uh.
He done smashed his staff down on that bridge and he said,
Good
"You
job.
shall not pass."
Girl!
That's
they got
right,
them
girl.
some Ian McKellen. Excuse
Ian.
me, Sir Ian McKellen.
You don't want to take a misstep here. He's a very
he's
important,
listening.
powerful man, right? Yeah, Ian McKellen does that. Anyway, okay,
that's
back
awesome.
to the game. Yeah, I know, right? Rosalex.
Fallen.
Fabuloso.
What the fuck? Is it to clean my Rolex? I mean, my Rolex, which I bought in Chinatown.
Your Rolex. It is, no, not at all. It's a topical barrier cream.
Oh, enough said.
Which is funny. For some reason, that phrase makes me giggle. It's to help keep your hands clean if you're going to be in, like, an industrial setting. So it's like gloves, but it's just a cream you rub on. and it keeps stuff from sticking to
That's
your hand.
some science shit.
You could use that when you masturbate, and all your cosmic juices just flow.
You think I'm just like bits of stardust? That is so sweet.
I do, yeah. Anyway, Belial.
Friendly.
Fallen.
Damn,
and you
I
should have known
suck.
from Belial. She sounds evil as shit.
Well,
I
that
think
last
I
one
would.
sounded evil. It was
That's
just
right, and that was
masturbation cream.
Rosalez. Okay, no shade. Belial, whose name I had to look up how to pronounce. In Christianity, that's another name for Satan.
I feel like everyone who is like remotely knowledgeable about religion thinks I'm a fucking idiot right now.
All right, well, I'm not, so I don't judge you.
Okay.
I mean, maybe some people out there, but how much do they know about Lord of the Rings?
Girl, not as much as me.
They want to come for me about my lack of Bible knowledge? What do you know about the Two Towers, motherfucker?
Bitch.
Sometimes you gotta let people know.
Well, as long as we laid it out. Next.
Well, first of all, Belial, though, is one of my favorite demons because he is deceptively beautiful, but his name means lacking worth.
Aww.
And I look for that in a friend.
God damn it.
I said that shit. Oh, girl, you wanted to move on. I said, no, let's go back. I have an insult. Let's go back. I have an insult.
You scripted that fucking burn. This is some setup,
Okay, I'm
rigged
sorry.
up,
That's
the
a-
fake media.
Fake news. Fake news. Okay, Fornius.
Now, girl, I know that's
Masturbation. He is fallen.
Thank you.
They're fallen.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag know a demon when I see it.
Except for like the 4M.
Yeah, well, you know. Fornius is a sea monster who teaches
I love it.
rhetoric and languages.
Oh, he's so smart.
Yeah. That was stupid. Okay.
He's like, come to my classroom. It's under the sea.
You're right. He is the crab from Little Mermaid. What's his name?
Sebastian.
He's Sebastian. Fornius equals Sebastian. Okay, next up.
It's actually anagrammed. Like, if you mix the words up, it spells Sebastian. Just, like, don't think about it and, like, next.
There have got to be a bunch of really silent consonants in this name, if that's the case.
Yeah.
But I support you in
It's German.
Ja, da. Is that German?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Uriel.
Fabuloso. I mean, the first one. Friendly.
It is friendly. And I'm not going to give you that point, though, because you
God,
obviously saw
you're
my
not
face.
keeping points.
You saw my
You
face.
just like fucking Chris
I am
Hardwick.
keeping
the
points.
don't matter.
And in fact, you just
no
lost
one's counting.
6 points. I took 6 points from you
So
just
how
now.
many I have left? -12?
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
That's actually probably accurate.
Uriel means God is my light. And that actually, not this Maricine one, he's an archangel, or they're an archangel, carries a flaming sword, patron of poetry and the arts, and my favorite angel, also.
Your favorite angel?
I will tell you, ties with Michael, the archangel, because obviously that's archangel.
You have a favorite angel?
I do. Uriel and Michael are my two favorites. Michael is actually my patron angel.
Oh,
because
yeah,
names.
that's your name.
And I can just
Who's my
that.
patron angel?
Oh! There's one called Skaggly
Don't
Skink
be,
Bitch.
don't be
Skaggly
rude.
Skink Bitch.
I was asking a
It's
real question
Phoenician. It's
of a real
Phoenician
friend
Skaggly Skink
looking
Bitch.
for an answer when you know
Look,
I don't know shit about angels and it's my
You're
fault.
right, that was a low
I
blow.
walked down that
I'm sorry,
path.
I'm sorry.
I don't need you.
I'm sorry. I'm not certain who your guardian angel is, but I think Skaggly Skink Bitch is someone you should consider. Because don't count her out because of her name.
Uriel is listening to you right now, and he is like calling Michael, and he's like, "This motherfucker."
They think I'm funny.
Some shade.
They think I'm funny. Okay, last one. Baruchiel.
Now that's definitely a character from the Jungle Book, right? That's not an angel.
Good guess.
Fabulosa.
Oh, worst guess.
Well, no.
So I picked that one because, there's the angel Baruch.
Sure. Yeah.
So Baruchiel is a friendly angel. So that's happy fun time. Of course, so was Metatron. So I don't know what you get.
Who is a
Don't feel
transformer.
safe. Don't feel safe. Might turn into anything, girl. He's a friendly angel with the power to thwart strife. And he's one of the 7 heavenly bodies / planetary rulers. Now, I don't know what that means. But it might mean something to you, and maybe Baruchiel is your guardian angel.
Maybe, girl.
Skaggly skank bitch.
Well,
I say just don't discount her.
Don't do it.
So good job, Morgan. You ended up with negative 13 points,
Well,
and I think that's a personal best for you.
Thank you. Lucky number -13. That's what I always say. Well, now that you have dragged me through the mud with this game.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed. I have just some short limericks for you.
Oh, you're trying to be poetic like Uriel right now.
Girl. So as they would say on NPR, you just need to listen for the rhyme. Okay, so I'm going to read like a rhyme I wrote for you, and you're going to just fill in the blank at the end of the sentence, okay?
Wait, is this secretly NPR? Am I on NPR right now?
Welcome!
I'm so excited to be here!
And they just quit broadcasting.
Fuck!
Okay, so I just have a couple of these, so we'll run through these real quick.
Okie dokie.
And they're all related to his Dark Materials series, okay?
Okay.
When it's dark at night and the sky dances bright, you might be looking at the...
Northern Lights.
Northern Lights. Not sure why there's such a rumpus. The Christians gather to trump us. They're all upset over... Rumpus? Trumpus?
Krampus.
No,
I don't
girl.
know.
It has
Rumpus,
to do with
trumpus,
his Dark
dumpus,
Materials.
Flumpus, subtle knife, scrumpus, tumpus.
The Golden
Compass!
Compass.
Oh, you're an idiot, Mick.
Yes, you are.
Oh.
Next one.
Okay.
Can't tell about this growth. It's making me choke. I asked the doctor about this mass. He said it's just my...
Ass! That works. That works really well.
But there's a couple of like words in front of ass. Like gluh and some other things. I said
Subtle
gluh.
knife.
I said gluh.
Gluh.
Ass.
Glass.
The Amber Spyglass.
Oh, well, there's so many syllables in that, Morgan. You know I haven't read the damn thing.
It's the title of the book.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna redeem myself. Okay, give me one more try.
Bitch, I got 2 more tries for you, and I do
tries.
not feel good about it. Okay. The podcast, My Favorite Murder, gets into the squirters. Some man killed his wife with a...
Subtle knife.
That's right!
Oh, really? That didn't rhyme at all.
Wife and knife, you're right. No
shit.
semblance.
Well, that was just a guess. Okay.
You're not even listening.
I am listening. I'm not good at rhyming games.
Jesus. Okay, last one.
Okay.
My friends say I must. They say go or bust. I guess I'll have to try hitting the...
Amber Spyglass. No. That's not my guess.
Must. Bust. Are you fucking serious?
Pullman? Armored Bears. Wait, must, fuss. Dust. It's dust. I knew it. I was kidding. It was a joke.
If the points mattered, you would be dead right now.
Well,
but luckily for you, they don't.
Well, fuck you.
That was
sad.
Pathetic. This was pathetic.
Well, you were pathetic too, so we're both pathetic.
Oh my god, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, I have enjoyed talking over his Dark Materials with you today. Do you have any other thing you want to say before we wrap up our discussion?
I will say that as a person who hasn't read the series, I do want to read it. I'm not saying that I don't like it. Our conversation today has made me want to read it more.
Nice.
But I will stand behind no one watched that shit fuck waste of time and money movie.
I feel like that's fair.
Yeah. That's my final thought, I suppose.
Cool. Yeah, well, I can't wait for the new series to come out October 17th. The first book launches, so that'll be shortly after this podcast. So you guys buy this book, support this series, and let us know what you think about it. All right. In the meantime, you guys can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, not really, but I have to say it, and Instagram at BNBcast. Or if you want to shoot us an email, you can reach us at beautyandthebee@gmail.com. You can follow us on our website where we've got blogs, our RSS feed, and so much more at beautyandthebee.wordpress.com.
And if you would like to follow Morgan on XTube,
God
her XTube
damn.
handle.
Oh, no, what? Really? What is my
Oh,
XTube
no.
name?
I was going to say a scraggly skank bitch, but I guess maybe not.
Well, hopefully it's not taken because it's about to be.
Girl, no one can take it like you. You know what I mean?
High five!
Wow. Do you have a plug for this week, Morgie Mark?
I do. Actually, I already mentioned it briefly in my limericks. I would like to plug the podcast My Favorite Murder, which is just two bitches talking about their favorite murders in the same way that we would talk about our favorite murders, in which that they use explicit language and also talk like this, and they're just like, maybe she deserved it. But also they're really deeply hilarious, and they recently did a crossover episode with Anna Faris's Unqualified that was truly funny. So check them out if you, number one, love crime and mystery, which is really hot right now, and also just like to laugh.
What was the name of that podcast?
My Favorite Murder.
My Favorite Murder. I'm gonna check that out, girl.
Yeah.
And you said they're really like feminist and like strong, upstanding women.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Whatever. They're funny.
They're not like, but they're not like, she got raped. Well, what was she wearing? Like,
they're
not
those
girls, right?
No, they talk
like,
seriously about stuff,
okay.
but also, just like I feel, it's like not too soon to also make jokes about it.
Yeah, you have to stay light, girl.
Yeah.
Life's too hard not to laugh.
Girl, preach.
I'll laugh at you 24/7.
What would you like to plug?
I would like to plug actually a show that we talked about on our Emmy episode a couple episodes back. It is a show called Mr. Robot. I love it. I was late to the game. I didn't start watching until after we talked about it on our Emmy episode, but it stars Rami Malek, who is weirdly so attractive in some moments and so hideous in other moments.
Yes.
I would definitely fuck him. That's a definite. But whether or not I would like take him to the mall to show him off,
sure.
I'm not certain.
Sure.
Okay. It also stars Christian Slater as the eponymous Mr. Robot.
Oh.
Yeah.
He is deeply disturbing looking. Like his face.
Yeah. He's always been disturbing. All the way back to Heather's.
Right, he's from Heather's.
Girl.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
man,
Heather's,
scary as shit.
it was like, should you fuck him or should you go to the police immediately?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know.
Fuck him on the way to the police station.
You know, that's a good middle ground.
See, now here I come, Mr. Compromise.
Hashtag Heathers.
Heather.
Not all Heathers, though.
No, obviously not. God damn it, Heather. What was I saying? Oh.
You called me Heather.
I did call you Heather. Heather, it's a great show. It is not a binging show. I do have to say that right back. Maybe you
disturbing.
could binge it. It is disturbing. It's just dark, but in a way that I enjoy, but not in a way that I'm like, I have to watch the next one. Like I do with Orange is the New Black, for example.
Yep.
But anytime I'm feeling kind of like, I want to feel like sexy and cool and tech friendly, I turn that on and it makes me feel like I'm living in a sexy, sad future, which I'm into. I'm into sexy, sad futures. You have a sexy, sad future. Well,
thank you.
2 of the 3.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today, BBs. Oh, I think I forgot to say you can also follow me at Morganduff on Instagram, and you can follow Mick at 1-800.
Oh, no!
Blowjobs? I don't know. I thought I would have something witty, and then I just didn't.
You know what? Seriously, by the time we get to publishing this episode, I'll probably have both my professional author blog and my
plug it, BB.
Bullshit. Well, okay, it's look for it in the show notes because I might actually change the name between now and the months then. But yeah, look for it in the show notes, both my professional blog and my personal blog.
All right, we'll link to that for sure.
Boop, boop.
And as Dr. Dre would say, until the next episode.
Does he say that?
It's like God, you're so racist.
I'm sorry, I didn't know Dr. Dre said that.
Yeah, boy.